Thanks for coming to hang out. I was downstairs. There's like another little panel room, and it's all set up with chairs that looks like a panel, and there's a sign, and there was nobody there, and I got like really kind of sad and confused. So I'm glad to see there's at least 7 people here instead of 2. Like downstairs. You guys can get closer too if you want. Don't feel like you have to, but
well, we like maximum participation in these panels that we host here for the Horror Con and the pop culture cons that happen with Rod. So we incentivize participation. We have stickers and buttons and lanyards because people will do anything for a free sticker.
Sure.
For the most part.
Yeah.
So we want you guys to ask questions because it's about y'all and him connecting and getting the answers to the questions that you want to ask and having this time. So that's what we're looking forward to. So if it's okay with you, I'm just going to ask you one simple icebreaker question, and we are going to.
Sure. It's an ice box in here. I am so cold.
Yo, it was way
I also want
worse.
Everyone closer for like body heat. That's the. Has anyone else been freezing all weekends? Yeah. Okay.
It was so bad up here yesterday.
Yeah, like I'm already almost there. Like
it was way worse yesterday, though. They must have done a little bit. Well, how does it feel to be here at Oklahoma City and to get to interact with all these beautiful people?
I'm having a blast. This is awesome. Thanks for coming and hanging out with little old me. I have family that lives in Oklahoma, so I'm trying to see them while I'm here too. It's been a while since I've been here, so it's kind of cool to come back and hang out.
Yeah, you should definitely go have some family time.
Sure.
You know you deserve it, meeting all the fans and go get to have
that's
some
what I'm here for, is to hang out.
That's right. They're family too, though.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah, that's a lie.
Hello, Miko. I wanted to ask you, I saw Dylan's New Nightmare last year, and I definitely really enjoyed it. And I wanted to ask you, how did it feel to revisit that character after so long?
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. I haven't really acted in anything seriously in a very long time, and that was the first opportunity to do so. And I really enjoyed the script, and I felt like, because I've kind of auditioned a little here and there, but my heart really hasn't been in it. I haven't fought for it, and a lot of the roles just didn't seem worthwhile. But it was cool to like revisit Dylan. That felt like home and something I could really sink my teeth into. So I tried really hard because I felt like I had something to prove. I'm like, I'm not just a kid actor, you know. And it was fun. I think it turned out good for being as low budget and you know, kind of fan made as it was. I think it turned out really well. I know it was very short. The big complaint is people want more, which I think is the best complaint we could have hoped for, because it wasn't boring. They weren't like waiting for it to be over. The hard part is it's just really, it's difficult and expensive to do it right, to make it look that good. So the idea, the hope was to leave them wanting more, and it was kind of like the first episode of what could be a full feature or series or whatever. So we would like to do more if we can. Hopefully that's in the cards. Don't know currently, but it was fun to do, and I'm really happy to have been a part of it, and it seems like people liked it. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Yeah, and if you haven't seen it, go check out Dylan's New Nightmare on YouTube. It's a unofficial sequel to Wes Craven's New Nightmare. When it first came out, the numbers, it was doing really good, and then because it's like horror, there's a unaliving part in it. It's very tame, but YouTube is extremely sensitive to that, so it got demonetized. So it's not getting organically shared, and our numbers just kind of stopped flying like they were. So if you like it and you share it with your friends, that helps us a lot, because it's not getting helped by the algorithm. So yeah, thanks.
Good afternoon. My question is, being so young and starring in one of the creepiest horror movies, Pet Sematary, how did that affect you? Did you have any nightmares or any kind of trauma from that?
I'm pretty fucked up. Yeah, that's. No, I don't think so. I hope not. I think filming movies are completely different than watching them. A lot of what's scary or impactful is in the editing and in the music, and you know, you get caught up in the story. But when you're on set day to day, it's just very small moments that you're trying to capture these moments together. But the rest of the day is spent setting up, and there's a ton of crew you don't see on camera that are there snacking, smoking cigarettes, you know, taking breaks in between. There's a lot of like in between activity that doesn't lend itself to like a creepy vibe. It's only when you settle in for those moments. So It can be, you know, scary if you're trying to do a particular scene to get to that place, but it's not like a horror show the whole time you're filming or anything. And I think Mary Lambert the director of Pet Sematary, was very mindful of what I was exposed to at such a young age. At least what I'm told is they really wanted to make sure I was comfortable. So when the freakier stuff did happen, it wasn't strange or traumatizing. That it was all pretend, and I was comfortable with all the rest of the cast and crew. We were like a big family at that point. So, yeah.
I just have a fun question here. We're at a Horror Con. What's your favorite horror movie? Pet Sematary? What else?
Yeah, favorite horror movie. That's tough. There's so many like subgenres within horror. It's a mood thing, really. I like thrillers. I feel like thrillers are on the edge of horror. They're like more cerebral. They can get in your head. They can be very, very scary, but they're usually based more in reality. I think my favorite of the big, Freddy, Jason, Michael, I like Leatherface. I like the Chainsaw series a lot. There's a real obscure Japanese horror movie I always like to recommend when I get asked this question. I haven't seen it in years, and it's kind of a tough watch because it's a really slow burn, but the payoff at the end is just like messes with you a lot. It's called Audition. It's about it's been so long. Yeah, I don't even want to give too much away, but it got under my skin for sure.
What is one of your favorite actors that you've met or worked with on a project?
It's a good question. Favorite. There's so many really cool people. There was a few jerks, but I won't mention them. I know, that's the more interesting. That's the drama. No, nothing. I mean, you could probably guess. If you got close enough, you'd be like, oh yeah, I've heard that about them. So it's not like a surprise or anything. But no, most people were incredible. Robert Englund is amazing. He's just as great as everyone says. He's just fascinating to talk to. You can give him any subject, and he has a broad knowledge and a deep knowledge. Like any topic, he knows like really specific, unique things. His well is very deep to draw from. And it's fascinating and just fun to be around and hear him speak. Arnold was really nice. I was really little, so I don't remember too much of that, but he was always really cool. Yeah, generally positive experiences. Herman, Fred Gwynn, yeah, I wish I remember him more. I don't have too many specific memories because I was so little. My parents said I loved him, though. He was like grandpa, that we would hang out and play. I was totally comfortable with him, and he sounded like a really, really cool dude. I wish we could have gotten to know each other as I got older, but didn't get the chance.
How did you learn your lines in Pet Sematary?
I think just repetition, going over it with my parents. There may have been times they were off camera feeding me lines if need be. I usually didn't need that. I think I was pretty good about learning my lines when I was little. That was the first movie, so maybe on that one. But yeah, I just remember we used to go over the scenes over for whatever project. It was just, you just do it enough until, you make it easy. It just comes to you. Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of going back to Dylan's New Nightmare, has it ever been brought to you before, like, hey, why don't we do a continuation? How hard do they have to twist your arm to want to do it? Also, do you still have the playground equipment from Wes Craven's New Nightmare? Sure,
yeah, I do still have the playground equipment. They were going to tear down that park during the time of filming, and that was kind of what incentivized them to film there, because they didn't want anyone recreating anything from the movie. It was like a liability. So they knew after filming the city wanted to install new equipment. And I think my parents, we lived outside of the city quite a ways, so we had room for it. And we asked them, what are you going to do with it? And they said, take it to the dump. And they were like, we'll take it if that's easier for you. And they're like, yeah. So I'm sure it was a big kind of investment, but it was a cool opportunity to set it up. And for years, me and my friends would have like birthday parties and sleepovers, and there's a trampoline that wasn't part of the original park, but we had that like dug into the ground, and it was so cool. It was fun. We didn't have to go anywhere for like hangouts. But for your question about, I know you had two, for Dylan's New Nightmare. Yeah, I hadn't really been. It was a fan. It was at a con that all started. Cecil approached me and said, "Would you ever consider reprising your role?" And I thought, that's a fun idea. That'd be cool. I can't really see, how or why or what would happen with that, but I'd read a script at least. A lot of times there's a lot of horror scripts that float around at cons and of varying quality. A lot of times it's maybe not the best, but I was like, yeah, I'll at least read it. And I didn't expect much, and I read it and was like, oh, that's actually pretty clever. And if you were going to do it, that would be a cool way to do it. That's intriguing. And then I just stayed in contact with him, and it grew from there. Originally it was going to be much smaller. I think COVID hurt us and helped us because it forced us to put a pause on things after we'd started. But that only gave it more time to prepare, and things kept falling into place. So it's like, okay, we can do this bigger, we can do it better, we can do it right. So that was kind of a blessing and a curse. It was hyped for a long time, and it took forever to come out, but I think it was better for it.
So in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, at the age you were at, when Robert Englund was in his Freddy gear and his Freddy outfit and the makeup and everything, at that age, did that actually scare you pretty good, or did you actually think it was really cool?
I thought it was cool. Okay. I was familiar with Freddy. I was about 7 when during the filming, and I knew the Freddy character just through pop culture. I had never seen the movies, but Freddy and Jason at that time were weirdly like, for being R-rated horror movies, they were like pop culture icons that kids knew about. There was Halloween, the glove and everything was popular, and they had a breakfast cereal, and they were always in the news, and they were like mascots in a weird way. So I watched the original because when I learned that I was going to be in the movie, I was like, I got to at least see the first one. I didn't see all of them, but I saw the first one. And I was so elated. I was like, I get to fight Freddy and I don't die, and like I win. That's so cool. And like it was incredible. And I'd met Robert beforehand, and I would see him in the makeup trailer in the morning, so I saw the process of it going on. So it was like Halloween. It was cool. Like I knew what he was doing. He was getting ready for the character and stuff. So.
Hi.
Hi.
Mine kind of goes along with that, and sorry about my voice. I did the Scream Queen contest last night, so I'm kind of
no problem. I hope you won
today. So
I know I'm hungover and probably sound bad too, and I'm shivering.
Yeah.
I probably look so uncomfortable, and I'm freezing.
So you were such a baby in Pet Sematary. I would have kind of like a 2-part thing. So one is about the being scared by characters. Rachel's sister, was that not did you ever see her in her makeup? Because that's like
Zelda,
one of the scariest probably horror characters that just
sure.
PTSD.
Same.
And then my second question is, since you were such a baby, how did you get into, was that your first big role, and how did your parents get you into that?
Sure. Zelda freaked me out too. I knew the story of Pet Sematary vaguely growing up, just because being told about being there and filming, and I knew what kind of happened with my character, and I had seen scenes individually. I didn't see the whole movie until I was about 12. But I knew generally what to expect. But the Zelda stuff, I was not there for. Okay. I didn't meet Andrew, or I didn't see him in makeup. I wasn't there on those days. So that I was blindsided by when I watched the film, and that was always what freaked me out too. And then, sorry, what was the second question?
Just because you were so tiny,
yeah.
How did you get into, was that your first role, and how did your parents get you into that?
Yeah, my mom thought I was really precocious and took direction well, and might have some luck in the industry, and she fought really hard to try to get me an agent. And it's really hard to get into. It's a catch-22. You have to be in to be in, but you can't get in until you do something. So she worked really hard to get an agent. Got lucky. It took 9 months, I guess. She met the receptionist. She wanted to go to the best kid agent in LA, and would get stopped at the front door essentially. But she would just hang out, and the receptionist kind of got to see me. She'd say, "Oh, look at the poster. Who's that?" and hear me talk. And I was so little, I could talk kind of before I could walk, really. And when that receptionist got a promotion, it took 9 months or something, I was the first name she pulled. She's like, I want to give this kid a shot. And I booked the first 3 things I went out on. It was a lawnmower commercial, a public service announcement, and I think Motorola or commercial, something like that. It was the first 3 auditions I went on, I booked, and then the head agent called me in for a meeting, like, I got to meet this kid, like, you're booking everything. And there was this running joke my mom always told of, she said, where have you been all this time? And my mom said, knocking on your door for 9 months. And then I think it was 2 or 3 months later that I auditioned for Pet Sematary, and that was the first feature.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How was it working with Robert Englund in New Nightmare? Were you more scared and nervous to work with him, or were you more happy that you're going to work with him?
I think there was probably nerves at times, but I mostly remember it just being excited and happy to work with him. I know there was one day in the Never Sleep Again documentary. It was funny. I talked with them for like hours, and the only clips they use of me is this one story, and it makes me look terrible, and I feel awful because there was one day where they did set up a scene where they tried to scare me intentionally, and it was justified. I think that's good. I think it worked. But I was 7, and I was not having it that day, and I think I freaked out, and I had a tantrum. I was like, I don't want to act. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, parents were like, oh, shit. We're like right in the middle of filming this. This is bad, and this is the only time I ever really did that. I think I just had a bad day, and they talk about that in the documentary. But, looking back, it was fine. It was my favorite movie favorite project that I worked on. I can't really remember Pet Sematary because I was so little, and I did a bunch of other non-horror stuff too, and that stood out as like the most fun. That was the coolest project. So, yeah, there's times, but for the most part, it was awesome.
First of all, I want to thank you for coming and being here. We're huge horror fans and non-horror fans of your stuff as well.
Thank you.
I have actually 2 questions. The first question is, with your upcoming stuff that's coming out, what are you most excited for your fans to see?
Sure.
And the second one is there anyone or anything that you would have liked to have buried in Pet Sematary?
Anything that I would have liked? Oh, to bury. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I haven't acted in a long time. The Dylan's New Nightmare thing has been fun to dip my toe back into that. I did do kind of like a cameo in a horror film last year, and it should have actually, was that even before now? It should have been out by now, but there's been a lot of like issues with production. No need to go into like details, totally unrelated to me, whatever. They're having this thing, but it seems like it's gotten squared away, and they're back on track in like post-production. So that hopefully will be coming out maybe October, Halloween time this year. So I got a small part in that. So that's exciting. I can't really talk about it until it's like officially announced or whatever. I can't tell you. I know. It's kind of cool though. It is kind of cool. It's low. I think it's low budget. It might not be like crazy or anything, but if you're in the horror scene, I'm sure you'll hear about it. It is a known franchise. I'll say that. How about that? That'll be it. A known. It's not a new IP.
He will be able to share the information.
Just not right now.
Yeah, they'll tell him like, hey, you can tell everybody.
Yeah. I just I had to sign a like, don't talk about it until we tell you you can talk about it. So, yeah, exactly. So. So a little thing like that, open to reading scripts, and I'm not like I haven't been pushing to audition, but this little wave recently's got me thinking about it. I'm just busy with, other stuff, my real job and everything. So, hopefully I'll start that up again, maybe. If it's in the cards, that'd be cool. I'm not like dying for it, but it's fun, and it's encouraging to hear, people sound like they want that to happen. So, yeah, we'll see. Who knows? And then, sorry, what was the second question? These 2 questions, I always do them one at a time, so I don't forget, please.
Who or what would you have wanted to bury in Pet Sematary?
Oh, yeah. What would happen if you buried dinosaur bones in the Pet Sematary? That might be interesting. That could get weird. Rick and Morty, if any Rick and Morty fans, they did a whole Pet Sematary thing in the most recent season in an episode. And that's like my favorite cartoon show right now. So, and I had no idea that was coming. I was like, oh, they're doing the thing. It was so cool. So, yeah.
Hello. When you were on the set, did your family take any like personal photos that you still have in your like photo books or anything? And also, do you have any memories of interactions with Fred Gwynn?
Yeah, I wish I remembered Fred. My parents said we got along really well. He was like grandpa, and we were really. They thought he was great. He wrote children's books, and he signed a couple copies for me that I still have. That was pretty cool. Yeah, there's actually probably more, family photos and stuff than what's out there. There's some cool stuff that's out there, but my mom is actually trying to get me to write like a book to have all of that stuff. And we've gone back and forth. She's like, you need to do it. She's kind of ghostwriting it. She's like, you put your name on it. But I'm like, oh, this is kind of cringy. I don't know. I don't want to say it that way. And then a lot of it too is like, there's not that much stories. I mean, I'm telling you a lot of the stories right now, but she wants to have it written out. I think it may happen. I don't know. Is that something people would be interested in if I did that? Is that... Okay. She keeps saying, do it. And I'm like, I don't know. I hate talking about myself, so it's really hard to bring myself to like make it happen. But hopefully the next year or so, maybe. I think it'll end up being more just like a scrapbook. It'll be like, here's a few little stories, and here's all like baby photos, So it'll be an easy read. But yeah, that might be a thing sooner or later.
What was your favorite role that you played out of movies and TV shows?
Favorite role? I think New Nightmare was the most fun to film because that was just like adventure, kicking Freddy's ass, like just cool story, fun stuff. Aaron from Full House was really fun because I was a jerk, and I could be mean, and Full House isn't. I mean, it was still in the Full House style, but I was kind of like the mean character, and they're normally so like nice and wholesome. So it was fun to be the bad guy in that regard. Mercury Rising was really fun just because of the scale of it. It was very large budget and filmed for a very long time, and it felt like a very serious movie to be a part of. Yeah, there's so many. They all have like, highlights of what made them good for different reasons. Oh, I'm freezing. Sorry, I'm gonna like do some jumping jacks after this.
Sorry. 2 questions. How was it working with Arnold in Kindergarten Cop? I know it's not horror related.
Yeah.
Horror related.
Sure. Arnold was amazing. He's just like he seems in interviews, just very down to earth. I remember he bought, at the time they were like iPhones. That was like the hot electronic item. They were Sony Walkmans that would play cassette tapes. They were portable, and he bought every kid in the class one of those. And I was so little, I didn't even really use it much until I was a few years older. I had it, but I would play like the Power Rangers soundtrack and Ninja Turtles theme song tapes and stuff for a long time. And that was cool to think like, oh, Arnold gave me this. And we did Yahoo put together like a Zoom call reunion. It was during COVID. We thought it was just going to be like a reunion of all the kids that were in the class, or a bunch of us at least. And then they surprised us that Arnold popped on, and we got to say hey. And supposedly he wants to get together in person. He said, when COVID calms down, this is a couple years ago now, so we should probably reach out and rattle that cage and see if we can make it happen, because it would be cool to reconnect in person too.
And then the second question was from my wife. She wanted to know, have you seen the 2019 Pet Sematary, and what'd you think about it?
Sure. Yeah, I did see the remake. I think there's parts of the remake that are really good, that it added things. It was a new perspective. Some of the effects they could do are modernized. I liked his journey in the woods to the Pet Sematary. There was a lot of interesting stuff there that wasn't fully explored in the same way in the original. I think ultimately it was kind of forgettable to me. I had high hopes. I think there's different types of horror movies. There's the slashers, the Freddys and the Jasons, and then the ghost stories and this and that. I think Pet Sematary ultimately is a family tragedy. It just happens to have a supernatural layer on top of it that just kind of like ups the ante. And I think the chemistry of the family in the original is much stronger. You feel it's, no movie's perfect. It certainly has its flaws, but I feel like the original, you feel that family is that family, and they have the bonds that they have. So when tragedy happens, it hurts. You feel it. And the audience is invested. And I feel like in the new one, you don't feel that chemistry. So when things happen, it's interesting in the sense of, oh no, what's next? But you don't feel that sense of loss and grief, which is the horror that's at the heart of that story. So ultimately, it felt more forgettable to me because of that. And I did like the idea of it switching to Ellie. That was interesting. I wanted to see where they went with it, but I feel like they kind of gave it away in the preview, and then beyond that, there wasn't too much more. I was kind of curious to see. I thought there was more room to play with that potentially. In a way, I took it as a compliment that they switched it, because they're like, they couldn't find anyone that could do it as Gage. I was the only one. Like, they had to do an older kid. Like, I was the only one that could pull it off. I'm sure that's not true, but I like to tell myself that. But yeah. I did appreciate the remake, that it brought a lot of energy back to the original. They had the re-release, and yeah, it was cool.
When you were younger, how did you feel about your character killing that old man?
Yeah, it's sad, right? That's he had it coming. No, that's part of what makes it heavy and crazy and sad in the show, is like the innocence. That's always like when kids are scary in movies. That angle is corrupted innocence, that something that shouldn't be capable of something so dark can do it so callously. It just adds a layer to it.
I was super glad to meet you and to know that these movies were, they were fun to make.
Sure.
Because those were some creepy scenes and I'm telling you, dude, like, if I had never met you in person, I'd have probably spent my entire life like worried that, you know what I mean? You were scared to walk around a closet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Awesome.
How do you feel now as an adult, the feeling of the man, the old man, he actually told, don't throw that shady area over there, and then he just still, brought yeah, exactly. How do you feel as an adult? Do you really feel like he was really a good person or not? He's really not go that area, and then he's
he couldn't help himself. He tried to warn him, but then he's like, but hey, check this out.
Yeah, do you think as an adult, kind of looking back at the storyline, do you think that he really was a genuinely person trying to help? You know what I mean?
I think Mary Lambert, the director, said this best, so I'm totally stealing her story, that there's like this cool reverse thing going on, that she calls it like a light angel and a dark angel that are guiding the film, and the one that you think is one is not, and the other, they're opposite. So Fred Gwynn's character seems like this sweet, nice old man with good intentions next door, but he's kind of the dark angel, because he leads them down this dark path and keeps, him and Dale especially keeps doubling down of like, it's kind of some of the choices are like, oh my God, why? But the story is, what if you just kept how crazy can you push it? How far can you push it? And how bad can it get? And then Pascal's character, who is this undead, looks like ghostly, freaky, evil, don't listen to it, it's trying to tell you to do things, had the best intentions and did everything he could as a ghost who couldn't affect things. He's saying like, don't do this, and ultimately he's not listened to. So the good guy is the bad guy. The seeming good guy is the bad guy, and the seeming bad guy is the good guy, in a way, in that sense.
I just want to give you props for like a 2-year-old or so doing such a great job in that too. You had a great direction, like you said, for a 2-year-old. It's awesome.
Thank you. It was a lot of child abuse. Kidding. You do it again. You do it better. No.
If you had the opportunity to wrap up the Dylan's New Nightmare, how would you do it?
Well, Cecil did write a script. He wrote his like dream version of if we could do it super big budget, like as a real full release, bring Freddy back as a sequel. It's really cool. I'm kind of reading it right now. He just dropped it. I've had a lot on my plate, and I want to like give it proper attention. It'd be interesting. I'm curious how easy that would be to pull off, even if we had a crazy budget. Just because in a scene like this, in the horror scene, New Nightmare is kind of a cult classic. It seems to be one of the top ones that people like. It seems to be a favorite, but for a modern audience, I don't know how well versed they would be in the canon of Freddy. So reintroducing that in a way that honors the original, that also is reintroduce as Freddy new again is kind of tricky, and I don't know how much or how that would be done. But I really like Cecil's ideas, and he's got some cool stuff of how to bridge the gap between new and old, and there's a lot of fun creative ideas. I think we'll see what happens. It's expensive and hard to make movies, and we have the scene, like everybody here and all the other conventions, to thank for what we were able to do. And if we're able to do more, that would be great. If not, I'm happy to have done what we did, and I don't know. We'll see where it goes. We'll do what we can.
I remember hearing somewhere that you were the youngest guest on the Johnny Carson show. Is that true? And secondly, I want to ask, in regards to your parents, they seem to be very good parents for sure. And is that something that you contribute to you avoiding some of the pitfalls that other child actors have suffered?
Sure, yeah. It's funny, in gathering like all the info and this like book thing my mom kind of wants to put together, we were getting all the details on that stuff, and I've said that for years that I was the youngest guest on Johnny Carson, and she has a copy of People magazine or some, I think it was People, one of those that was talking about Johnny Carson's and said like different facts, and it has me listed as the youngest. But then I also learned somewhere else there was maybe someone else younger, so we were going off of that quote, but it may not be accurate, so I may be like close second, I don't know. But I have said that for a long time. It was well intended. I don't know if it was totally true. We were just quoting the magazine that said that. Sorry, that was your first question. I forget if there's anything else. What was the second?
About avoiding pitfalls with
Oh, sure. Yeah, with my parents. Yeah. I definitely. I have my mom to thank for most everything. I definitely did not avoid all pitfalls. I think probably why around the time I stopped acting was family drama, kind of cliche kid actor stuff. It could have been a lot worse. I think I made it out pretty well compared to a lot of my friends that I grew up with that, hearing about now in the news, documentaries are coming out. It's like, wow, yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember them. They were there at the events, and I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunities and that I've had, and to avoid some of the dangers. But that said, I also dealt with a lot of family drama that made me not want to act for a long time. It was, but I don't want to play victim. I don't want to say, oh, because of this or that. But I'm very thankful that things worked out the way they did. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I have my mom to thank a lot for a lot of the great things in my life regarding that. I'll just leave it at that.
How did it feel to work with all the actors and just everything in the movie Spawn?
Yeah. Oh, funny. Okay, so fun story about Spawn. I was reading the comics around that time. I was collecting. I was like getting super into it. It was really popular. And it was kind of in my comic phase. I had a bunch of different ones, but Spawn was the big one that I was really into. And I auditioned for the movie. Oh, no. My parents kind of caught on to it, and they're like, what are you reading? What is, Spider-Man? What is this kind of thing? And they're like, oh, this is really demonic. This is you're too young for this. This isn't cool. I'm sorry, but we're going to have to take your comics. You can't read these anymore. So we're not going to throw them away. You can have them when you're older or whatever. You can't have these right now. So they took my whole collection. I forget how many. I had like a good stack. And then I auditioned for the movie, and I got a call back, and I got another call back, and then they made an offer. And then I put an ultimatum on my parents. I'm like, you can't let me be in the movie if you're going to take my comics. Like, you have to let me have my comics if you want me to do the role. So I got my comics back. And that was like 3 months prior to auditioning. Oh, yeah. So that was kind of fun. It was funny. And it was, that was like a superhero movie. That was really cool, meeting Todd McFarlane, and yeah, it was sick. yeah, that was really fun to be a part of some of the effects they were doing. They had them on wires flying back, and seeing John Leguizamo and the makeup. And I am still a big Super Mario fan, and I was a fan of the original movie that's objectively terrible, but I love it.
Yes.
And I remember talking to him about, he was in clown makeup just chilling, and all I wanted to talk to him about was like the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and that was fun. And he was like, Wario, they should do a Wario movie. That was his favorite character when we were chatting. And what else? Yeah, the Violator animatronic. That thing was really cool. It was a really cool experience.
Spawn's one of my favorite movies of all time you've done. Even though I love Freddy Krueger, that movie's just badass. I mean, it's awesome.
Rock on. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Hey, at what age did you get completely sick of people coming up to you saying,
boys have a penis, girls have a vagina? I've had a whole arc with my relationship to that line. At the time it was funny because I think I knew kind of what it meant, but I knew it was provocative and it made adults laugh. And my parents told me, like, okay, you're going to say this and it's going to be funny because it's kind of, you're not supposed to, but that's the funny part, and it's okay. You can do it now for this. And that's kind of how I got to do it. And it was fun, and everybody laughed, and it kind of played up at the time. And then I got a little bit older, and like, kids will tease kids about anything, and that's something that's an easy target. And I remember, like, I'd go to the mall and people would just yell it out at me, and it's like, I'm 6, and I felt like being made fun of. And then, or if there'd be like a crowd and they'd be like, say the line, say it, and it's like, I don't know you, and like there's 7 people yelling it at me, like I just want to play this arcade game or whatever. And I remember it like messed with me. I would cry, and I'd to my mom, like, why did you do this? Like, I hate it. And she felt so bad, and she felt really guilty for a long time. But getting through that, looking back now, like, it was fine. Kids are going to get teased about anything. Everybody does. That was my thing, I guess. And now it's funny. I'm an adult. I can laugh that it's cute. I can play it up like, haha, yeah, it's true. I verified it. Like, whatever. They're like, what's up, girl? You want to prove it? I don't know. Let's find out. Like, whatever, So I've gotten to a place where I can own it. But for a long time, it was the bane of my existence, And now it's like memeified, and people try to get after me of it being like a thing, and I'm like, I don't know, man, I was little. It's just a funny line in a movie. I hope you liked it. I'm not trying to make anyone mad, so I get, yeah, maybe, I don't know. It depends on if I'm drinking. So
okay, guys, I had him cut the line off because this is his time.
Sure.
He's accomplished his question answering. Y'all do not miss out on going by there and checking out what he's got at his table. I walked by there. He has got some cool pictures ready to sign, hook y'all up with, and I'm sure he would like to answer any questions that y'all have further. And it is chilly in here.
Yeah.